Ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan. Ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big.
Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR-FM. Physics, Chemistry, Earth Science, Biology, Biochemistry, Environmental Science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day.
Yes, good afternoon to all our viewers and listeners, especially to our grade 7 learners. How are you today? I hope that you and your family are in good condition and safe.
Okay, so magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Okay, so good afternoon to our officer in charge and chief education supervisor, Sir Rodrigo B. Pascua, our supportive head teachers, and to all teaching and non-teaching staff of Doña Aurora National High School. Hello po sa inyong lahat.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am Lynn. So today you're going to listen to our RBI and watch for the live discussion in Science 7 for Quarter 2, Week 3. So, here is our RBI in today's lesson. Enjoy listening, dear learners! It's Scientific Time! Sakit ng ano ko?
Dance Radio, siniparalan sa radyo, atid namin makabago, paraan ang pagtuturo.
Wala nang makakapigil pa. Sulong Arangkada 106.3 Dance Radio sa Aurora, Isabela.
Edukasyo'y susulong, basta't magtulong-tulong, sulong edukalidad. Dance Radio, learning is amazing.
Physics, Chemistry, Earth Science, Biology, Biochemistry, Environmental Science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is a way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity of how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science.
Good day, our beloved learners of grade 7. We are so happy that you're tuning in to 106.3 DWDR-FM Dance Radio. Together, let us listen, discover, and learn important facts. This is your radio teacher, Ma'am Donabel T. Rodriguez. Settle yourselves in your most comfortable places or venues while listening intently to our discussion on the air. Are you ready in our discussion, my dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's start. Can Can you still remember the structure of plant and animal cell discussed in the last topic?
Yes, ma'am. Plant cell and animal cells differ from each other.
That's right! How does a plant cell differ from animal cell?
There are parts that are present in plant cell but not found in animal cell. There are also parts present in animal cell but absent in plant cell, ma'am.
Absolutely! What organelles are not found in an animal cell but present in plant cell?
Chloroplasts and cell wall are found in plant cells but not in animal cells, ma'am.
Correct! What is the function of the chloroplast in plants?
Chloroplasts in plant cells work as a food-making machine. Chloroplast has a chlorophyll, a substance that makes plant green, which convert the energy from sunlight into sugar or chemical energy, which is used by the plant. Centrioles are present in animal but absent in plant cell, ma'am.
Very good! You really learned a lot in our previous lesson. I think you are now ready for our next lesson. After this session, you should be able to differentiate asexual from sexual reproduction in terms of number of individuals involved and similarities of offspring to parents. Who among you are eating fruits and vegetables?
Ma'am. My mother always includes fruits and vegetables in our diet.
That's nice. We need to include fruits and vegetables in our diet for us to become healthy. What are your favorite fruits and vegetables?
My favorite fruits are rambutan and mango, and my favorite vegetables are kamote tops and eggplant, ma'am.
Wow! How about the others?
Ma'am, my favorite fruits are bananas and grapes, and my favorite vegetables are okra and malunggay.
Since those are your favorite fruits and vegetables, you should have those in your garden. Do you know how those fruits and vegetables are being reproduced or propagated? You come to learn about that as you listen to our lesson about reproduction. There are two types of reproduction: sexual and asexual reproduction. Let's determine the differences between these two types. What do you think is the similarity between a mother with her baby and a plant with many flowers?
Both can be mothers, ma'am.
You have an idea. For this sample scenario, the mother is the parent and the baby is the offspring. While in the plant that has many red flowers, one of them can be a parent flower and others can be the offsprings. After identifying their similarities, let us proceed to the main differences. What are the main differences between them?
The mother and the baby have differences or variations between them, while in the plant, there is no variation because all flowers are red, ma'am.
That's right! What makes this possible? How do different organisms reproduce? Let us find out after this short reminder.
Uy, Pedro! Nagpabakuna ka na ba?
Oo naman, Petra. Bakunado na yata to. Dapat ang bawat isa ay mahikayat ng magpabakuna. Bata, matanda, tara na!
Tama ka dyan, Pedro! Kung may bakuna, siguradong protektado tayo laban sa virus. Kaya magpapavaksin na rin ako.
Tandaan, magpabakuna, siguradong protektado ka.
Isang paalala mula sa Doña Aurora National High School at ng himpilang ito.
It's Science Time!
You are listening to Teacher Donabel.
I'm back! Are you excited to know the processes responsible in reproduction?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen molds, dear learners?
Yes, ma'am. I have seen this on top of an expired bread.
Yes, molds are growth of minute fungi forming on vegetable or animal matter. They multiply rapidly because they undergo reproduction.
What do you mean by reproduction, ma'am?
Reproduction is the process in which organisms give rise to new organisms or offsprings. It is one of the defining characteristics of living things. It allows organisms to produce new individuals to propagate their species.
How is that, ma'am?
Living organisms can propagate or can reproduce by asexual or sexual reproduction.
Ma'am, what is the difference between them?
That is a good question, my dear. Let's start differentiating these two in terms of the number of parents. In sexual reproduction, 2 parents are needed or it is biparental process. For example, in humans, there should be a male parent and a mother or the female parent, while in asexual reproduction, only 1 parent is enough. What are examples of organisms that reproduce sexually?
Some animals, just like dogs, cats, and cows, reproduce sexually because 2 parents are involved in the reproduction, ma'am.
Precisely. How about organisms that reproduce asexually?
Some plants like potato and garlic reproduce asexually because only 1 parent is involved in the reproduction, ma'am.
Correct! Another distinguishing factor between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction are the gametes, also known as sex cells, which can either be a sperm cell from the male parent or egg cell from the female parent. These two unite during fertilization to form a new organism, which is called an offspring. Who can compare the 2 types of reproduction in terms of the presence or absence of gametes?
In sexual reproduction, gametes are formed which come from the organism's parent, while in asexual reproduction, gametes are not formed, ma'am.
Very good! Sexual and asexual reproduction can also be distinguished depending on the nature of the genetic material. In sexual reproduction, 2 parents are involved with their egg cell and sperm cell. What does this mean?
It means that genetic material is an intermix from both parents, while in asexual reproduction, same genes are present from the parent to its offspring, ma'am.
Very good! Do you know why?
Yes, ma'am. Because only 1 parent is needed for this kind of reproduction. There is no exchange of genes, ma'am.
You're right! That's why organisms under this kind of reproduction reproduce rapidly. So another difference lies on the involvement of reproductive organs. In sexual reproduction, reproductive organs are used during the reproduction or during mating, while in a sexual reproduction, no reproductive organs are involved. What is the effect of the involvement of gametes in sexual reproduction?
Sexual reproduction is more complex compared to asexual reproduction, and this greatly affects the rate of reproduction, ma'am.
Yes, my dear. In sexually producing animals, just like humans and other multicellular and complex organisms, the rate of reproduction is slow. When conditions are favorable, egg and sperm cell unite in a process known as fertilization, and the resulting fertilized egg is called zygote that contains genes from both parents. Another reason is, in humans, because it takes 9 months to fully develop a baby before it is delivered.
It means that in sexual reproduction, there is only 1 mode of reproduction, ma'am.
Yes, dear learners. In asexual reproduction, there are different modes or methods of propagation. What are the different modes of propagation in asexual reproduction?
Ma'am, in asexual reproduction, there are different modes or methods of propagation. It includes vegetative reproduction, binary fission, regeneration, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation, ma'am.
Exactly. Let's start with binary fission. Commonly, we can observe this type of reproduction in bacteria, archaea, and protozoa. In binary fission, a single bacterium doubles its DNA, then splits to form two new organisms. What could result to this type of reproduction?
More organisms are produced because it is simply the division of a parent cell to produce two daughter cells, ma'am.
Nice sharing, my dear. Next is budding. We can commonly observe this type of reproduction in unicellular organisms just like yeast and in simple multicellular organisms like Hydra. Buds or outgrowth form from the parent cell and grow into new individuals.
This means that the bud will grow until a new hydra is formed, ma'am.
Yes, my dear. The buds separate from the parent to live as another organism. Another type is fragmentation. This type of reproduction is commonly seen in sponges and flatworms. Will you describe how fragmentation occurs in organisms such as flatworms?
On this kind of organism, the parent body breaks or fragments into several pieces. And these pieces or fragments develop into new organisms. Flatworms divide themselves, the upper half with no tail and the lower half with no head. It forms into new organism, ma'am. The upper half will become a new flatworm and also the lower half, ma'am.
That's right, my dear. The upper half will become a new flatworm, also with the lower half. Another mode of asexual reproduction is regeneration, which is commonly seen in animals. How does regeneration occur as a method of asexual reproduction?
Ma'am, in regeneration, the organism regrows a lost body part. For example, in a starfish, if one leg of the starfish is removed, it will grow into another starfish.
Correct! We also have spore formation. Spore formation is also called multifold fission, and it can be observed in bread molds, mosses, and ferns. How does spore formation occur?
Spore formation occurs by growing sporangium, which contains the spores that are scattered in the environment to form new organisms, just like in rhizopus or bread molds, ma'am. Now I know why the food I left is full of molds. Molds reproduce rapidly, ma'am.
That's true. We also have certain plants which are reproducing asexually. It involves a process called vegetative reproduction. First is the stem cutting. It is the most common method of asexual reproduction in plants. Do you know why?
Ma'am, when a mayana stem is planted in moist soil, roots can form in the lower half and new shoots will form from the nodes. I have seen my grandmother doing that, ma'am.
Correct! Who can give other local plants that are commonly reproduced by stem cutting?
Some of the local plants that are commonly reproduced by stem cutting are malunggay and kamote plants, ma'am.
Very good! Another example of vegetative reproduction is grafting. In grafting, there are different terms that we need to be familiar with. First is the scion. The scion is the branch or bud from a desirable plant which is attached to another stem or root system of a stock plant with other desired characteristics. So in grafting, we are combining desirable characteristics from different plants. What is the result after grafting?
This result in a single plant which combines a characteristics of two plants, ma'am.
You're right. This method is important if we want to improve the quality of economically useful plants. Who can give an example?
Ma'am, an example is tomato grafting. It became famous because it reduces diseases and improves stress tolerance from the environment, just like excessive heat. There are also plants which can develop new types through their underground stem. Example is potato, a tuber, ma'am.
Very good. Tuber has eyes which are actually nodes which can grow into plant. Another type of reproduction is through stolon. Who can describe stolons?
Ma'am, stolons are slender stems in plants. Stolons are crawling on the soil and it will grow new roots and new leaflets for a new plant. Lastly, we also have specialized leaves which are used in reproduction.
Yes, my dear. An example of it is katakataka leaf. A katakataka leaf has plantlets around its border. And when these plantlets fall to the ground, there is enough nutrients in the soil for a new plant to grow. These plantlets will grow into a new katakataka plant.
Oh, nature's wonder! Now I know that every organism has a unique way of reproduction, ma'am.
Yes, that's right. Now, you are knowledgeable on the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. I hope that the discussion can help you in performing and answering the activities in your learning activity sheets. Let us answer one activity after a short break.
COVID-19 has caused loss of lives and economic hardship all over the world. It has changed our habits and the way we live while testing our public health systems and impacting on our livelihoods. With this, the role of environmental health practitioner has never been more vital as we face up to the ongoing challenges this pandemic. Many changes are about to happen for a greener environment, more equal and more stabilized economy. COVID-19 pandemic has resulted numerous impacts on the environment and climate. But amid this crisis, we have a chance to build a better community and environment. Hashtag healthy environment. Hashtag healthy community.
It's Science Time!
You are listening to Teacher Donabel.
I'm back! Thank you, grade 7 learners, for still tuning in. Turn your learning activity sheets on page 1. Let us answer activity number 1 titled Match and Pair. Directions: match the words in column A with the correct descriptions in column B for you to complete the magic word. Write your answer on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, let's begin. Number 1. A process by which one organism self-reproduce. What is the answer?
The answer is asexual reproduction, ma'am.
Very good. Number 2. The cells that comes from the mother and father during reproduction. What is the answer?
The answer is sex cells, ma'am.
That's right. For number 3, new cell that is formed during fertilization. What is the answer?
The answer is zygote, ma'am.
Correct. Please continue answering the remaining items after this broadcast or in your most convenient time. Before we end our discussion, let's summarize our lesson. What are the things that you have learned in our discussion, my dear learners?
We've learned that there are 2 types of reproduction, which are sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, ma'am.
You're right. What else?
We've learned that in sexual reproduction, there is only one mode of reproduction, while asexual reproduction undergoes different modes of reproduction. These are the vegetative reproduction, binary fission, regeneration, budding, and spore formation, ma'am.
You're correct. Any more?
We've learned that in sexual reproduction, it undergoes fertilization. When we say fertilization, this is the process during reproduction where 2 sex cells join together, ma'am.
Great! You really learned a lot. Keep it up! Before we end, let me check if you really understood our lesson. How many parents are involved in sexual reproduction?
Ma'am, there are 2 parents involved in sexual reproduction.
Precisely! How about in asexual reproduction?
There is only one parent and it does not need the union of sex cells, ma'am.
Correct! How will you describe the offspring produced in sexual reproduction?
Offspring produced in sexual reproduction is genetically unique from the parents, ma'am.
That's right! How about in asexual reproduction?
Offspring is genetically identical to the parent, ma'am.
Very good! Why is it that the offspring is genetically the same with the parent?
Offspring is genetically the same with the parent because only one parent is needed for this kind of reproduction and there is no exchange of genes, ma'am.
Absolutely! Who can enumerate some organisms that are reproduced sexually?
Birds, fishes, reptiles, flowering plants, and mammals such as human beings reproduce sexually, ma'am.
Correct! How about those organisms that are reproduced asexually?
Ma'am, most plants reproduce asexually through vegetative propagation such as strawberries, kamote, and ginger.
That's right! Any more?
Some animals also reproduce asexually, ma'am, like the starfish.
Correct! Aside from those, fungi and microorganisms like bacteria reproduce asexually. Before we end up this session, why is reproduction important?
Reproduction is very important in maintaining stability in the ecosystem and for the continuation of life on Earth, ma'am. The process of reproduction ensures that plant or animal species does not disappear from Earth.
Absolutely! Had there been no reproduction, all the species would become extinct. That ends our lesson in Science 7. I would like to acknowledge the teachers behind this School on the Air lesson. Ma'am Teresa M. Seneca and Ma'am Donabel T. Rodriguez are script writers. Ma'am Venus J. Lintao, our language editor. Ma'am Donabel G. Velasco and Ma'am Annabel A. Rodriguez are content editors. Sir Ryan A. Colcol, our technical specialist. And yours truly, Ma'am Donabel T. Rodriguez, your radio teacher in science. Once again, thank you very much for being with us. Stay tuned for our live discussion.
Physics, chemistry, earth science, biology, biochemistry, environmental science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is a way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity of how the world develops and works today. Science, science, science. This is your class, and this is science.
Dance Radio, siniparalan sa radyo. Atid namin makabago, paraan ang pagtuturo.
Wala nang makakapigil pa. Sulong Arangkada 106.3 Dance Radio sa Aurora, Isabela.
Edukasyo'y susulong, basta na magtulong-tulong. Sulong edukalidad, Dance Radio. Learning is amazing.
Ayan, we're back!
Yes, Ma'am Donna, we're back. Na-miss ko yung andito tayo sa booth.
Oo, tama.
Kasi ilang weeks ba tayong nabakante, mga ma'am?
3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. So I hope even our
Almost 1
learners,
month.
na-miss din nila tayo.
Correct.
No? Okay. Sige nga, mga learners, kung na-miss nyo kami, paki-comment down nga ang miss you all, ma'am. Diba? Tignan nga natin.
Sino kayang unang magre-respond
So,
dyan, ma'am?
hello, good afternoon. Pa-shoutout sa aking mga grade 7 learners, ang 7 SPJ, 7 Sining, at 7 Kultura. At pinapasabi din ni Sir Hector, pa-shoutout daw at namimiss na kayo ni Sir Hector, ang kanyang mga 7 Bonifacio, 7 Del Pilar, and 7 Jacinto.
Yes! Shout out din sa aking mga grade 7 learners. 7 Archimedes, 7 Newton, and 7 Galileo.
Okay, Ma'am Donna, may mga nag-comment na.
Oo
Thank you,
nga.
mga anak. Miss you all, ma'am. So, we miss you all too, our dear learners.
Correct. Oo. Na-miss natin yung mga nagchat-chat yung mga chat nila, no?
Kasi
Ayan.
marami sa kanila yung ang lalambing din nila.
Correct.
Kahit na hindi tayo face-to-face, through text lang, yung mga
Oo.
messages din nila, nandun din yung mga malasakit nila sa atin na mga teachers nila.
Yes.
So, we miss you all, our dear learners, at ingat-ingat pa rin, ha?
Yes. Stay safe.
Yes.
Shout out din sa mga estudyante ni Ma'am Rio. So, from 7 Luna and 7 Lapu-Lapu.
Yes, and Ma'am Donna, kasama din natin dito si Ma'am Teresa at saka si Ma'am Mirna at ang ating technical assistant din dito si Sir
Hector.
Okay, Ma'am Mirna and Ma'am Tere?
Behind the scenes si Sir
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone, especially to my grade 7 Rizal and Zamora. I hope, mga anak, natapusin ninyo ang ating lesson ngayon hanggang sa live discussion. Enjoy listening.
Okay, so good afternoon to all our viewers and listeners. Okay, I would like also to greet my 7 Aguinaldo, 7 Mabini, and 7 Sulaiman.
Ayan, natatandaan pa nila.
Hindi nila nakalimutan.
Correct. Okay. So, Ma'am Teresa?
Ma'am Mirna.
Ma'am Mirna.
Okay. So, the grade 7 teachers are here to discuss to you the topic for week 3, quarter 2, which is all about sexual and asexual reproduction. What to expect in today's lesson, Ma'am Teresa?
Okay, yes, Ma'am Mirna. So after our discussion, the students are expected to differentiate asexual and sexual reproduction in terms of number of individuals involved and similarities of offspring to parents.
Okay, so wow, parang ang dami nilang matututunan ngayong hapon.
At maganda yung topic natin ngayon,
Yes, reproduction.
Yes, yan yung lagi nilang inaabangan sa science.
Science 7, yes. But first, let us check first muna ma'am kasi 3 weeks tayong nabakante, di ba?
Oo nga.
Okay, so let us check first kung ang ating mga learners ay natatandaan pa nila yung ating topic na na-discuss nung week 2 which is all about cell. Kasi nung week 2 natin we discussed the plant and animal cell. So, we will give you questions, then just identify what is being asked in the given question. Just comment down your answer in our chat box.
Yes, ayan. Ito na miss din nating magbigay ng badge.
Yes,
ayan, muling nagbabalik.
Yes, sa mga very active learners natin.
Oo, yung pinakaunang tamang sagot ay makaka-receive ng active participation badge. Marami na ba kayong silang naipon, ma'am?
Siguro. At minsanan natin kukolektahin yung mga yan sa kanya. At of course, may mga corresponding points ito.
Yes. Para naman meron din na mga ano yung kanilang effort, di ba? Ayan. So, umpisahan na natin. Okay. So, first question. What organelle stores waste and water in both plant and animal cells?
Okay, meron na, ma'am.
Ay.
Si Seven Archimedes.
Sino yan?
Liza Oripon. Ang sagot
estudyante
niya
ko yan.
ay vacuoles. Correct ba, ma'am?
The correct answer is vacuum.
Okay, so congratulations to Liza Oripon of Seven Archimedes. Mayroong
Ayan.
kang badge.
Very active talaga si Liza.
Okay, question number 2. Which part is found only in plant cell and thus the food making process in plants possible? Ulitin ko, which part is found only in plant cell and thus the food making process in plants possible?
Yan.
So, wala pa akong nakikita, ma'am. Kayo, may nakikita ka na ba, ma'am?
Wala pa naman, ma'am.
Number 2. Mga anak, pakilagayaan. Number 2. Ano kaya ang sagot? Which part is found only in plant cell? At ito, siya yung the food making process. So, dahil sa kanya, kaya nagkakaroon ng photosynthesis in plants.
Okay.
So, which part is that? Take note, only in plant cell.
Correct. Magbigay tayo ng clue. It starts with letter
C.
Yes.
Ayan, meron na.
Meron na.
Yes.
Sino yan?
Si Judel o Flora ng 7 Mabini.
Ayan.
Ang sagot niya ay chloroplast.
Okay.
Paki-take note yung mga nananalo para mabigyan natin ng badge, ha? Thank you.
Okay, so the correct answer in question number 2 is chloroplast.
Okay, congratulations. Okay, number 3, Ma'am Teresa.
Next, question number 3. What part is considered as the powerhouse of the cell?
Powerhouse of the cell.
Ulitin mo,
Yes,
ma'am.
what part is considered as the powerhouse of the cell?
Ayan, meron na sumasagot.
Comment
Yes,
na.
Powerhouse of the cell. Ayun.
Si Mark
Norwin Edroso
ng 7
Galileo.
Galileo. Ma'am, ano yung correct answer?
Okay, correct answer is mitochondria.
Yes, nakuha ni Mark Norwin. Congratulations!
Anong section ni
7
Mark Lowe,
Galileo.
Okay,
Galileo,
7
ma'am.
Ay, Galileo.
Oo. Ayan, very active ang mga ano natin ngayon, mga learners.
Yung iba din, tama yung mga sagot nila, pero nahuli lang.
Correct. Ayan.
Number 5,
Next.
Ma'am Donna.
Number 5 na, ma'am.
Number 4. Number 4 pala.
4.
Ma'am Linda, number 4.
Excite si ma'am.
Number 4, ayan. Which part of the cell is responsible for controlling the activities of the other parts of the cell? I repeat. Which part of the cell is responsible for controlling the activities of the other parts of the cell? Okay.
Ayan, meron
Anong
ng
sagot?
ano.
Meron na, ma'am.
Dapat correct spelling, ha?
Yes, with correct spelling.
Okay.
Sino nauna?
Ito, nauna si Sanjiro Nitura ng 7 Newton. Ang sagot
Yes.
niya ay
Nucleus.
Correct.
7 Newton.
Yes.
Tama ba yung sagot niya, ma'am?
Oo, nucleus.
Okay,
Yes.
Sanjiro, may tama ka! Okay,
Okay.
congratulations!
Next.
Okay, ako na ba?
Question number 5, Ma'am Donna.
Okay, number 5. Why does a plant cell have a fixed shape and an animal cell does not?
So, medyo ano ito, ma'am?
Medyo-
Bakit? O why?
Oo, medyo hats na to, no,
Yes.
ma'am?
Why does a plant cell have a fixed shape and
An
an
animal
animal cell
cell.
does not? So, bakit yung plant cell ay fixed ang shape niya pero ang animal cell ay hindi? Bakit kaya?
Oo nga. Bakit
Okay.
kaya?
Ah,
Tingnan nga
sige.
natin mga sagot nila. Ayan. Bakit nga
Ayan
ba,
na.
Ma'am Lynn?
Yes, tignan muna natin sagot nila, ma'am, bago natin sabihin. Kasi mahirap na
Ayan.
sabihin natin.
Ayan,
Kaya
may
muna.
sumasagot. From 7 Archimedes, ma'am.
Because plant cells has
Walls.
walls. Yun ang sagot niya. Okay ba yun? I-consider ba natin na sagot
Okay.
yun, ma'am?
Yes! Very good!
Liza?
Orifon.
Orifon. Siya na naman yung kanina.
Yes, wow. Very active yan si Liza.
Dalawa na?
Bats.
Liza
Yes, ng
Orifon
7
na
Archimedes.
7 Archimedes. Wow,
Because plant cell has cell-
congratulations.
Yes. Yun ano daw. Sa cell membrane of the plant ay surrounded by a cell wall, kaya fixed. Samantalang ang animal cell,
Walang
no
cell wall. Yan. Talagang may natutunan
Yes,
sila, ma'am.
kahit nagbakasyon ng, nagkaroon tayo ng 3 weeks na
Break.
break, still na sa isip
Natatandaan pa rin nila
natatandaan
na.
nila yung ating past lesson.
Correct. Okay, ibig sabihin nag-sink in sa kanila yung
Yes.
lesson. Ayan, we also posted RBI validating questions in Dance Community Facebook page. So don't forget to answer the validating question, my dear grade 7 learners, for you to have an additional points from your science teacher. Ayan, so wag niyong kakalimutan.
Just comment ano nila yung pangalan nila and the name of their teacher para
Yes.
automatic mababasa ng teacher din nila.
Yes, and also their section, ma'am.
Yes. Okay.
Ayan. Ma'am
Okay.
Mir?
So, to deepen our understanding about our topic for this week, the grade 7 science teachers are here to further discuss about our topic, which is reproduction. I know that our learners are now ready to learn about our next lesson, my dear learners. So, ano pang hinihintay natin mga kaagham? Let's start.
Yes, Ma'am
Okay.
Mirna. So, let's start our discussion by defining the term reproduction. So, what do we mean by reproduction, ma'am?
Okay, Ma'am Teresa, reproduction is very necessary for a living organisms. Reproduction, it is the process by which a new organism is produced. And reproduction is necessary for the continuation of the generation of particular species. So, when we say reproduction, that is the ability of an organism to produce new individuals. So, this is one of the characteristics that distinguish living things from non-living things.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So, that is reproduction. Why do organisms need to reproduce, ma'am?
Okay, organisms need to reproduce because no individual organism lives forever, di ba? Walang forever. Walang nagtatagal. Walang nagtatagal dito sa mundo, di ba, Ma'am Donna?
Yes.
Kaya
tama.
walang forever. Aywan ko lang kay sa rector kung may forever. Okay, so reproduction is essential to the continuation of every species.
Yes, Ma'am Mirna, tama ka dyan. Organisms cannot live forever. So they must reproduce to allow their species to continue to live on. So reproduction is nature's way of allowing a species to survive. Kasi kung no reproduction, all the species would become extinct.
Extinct, yes.
Even tayo, hindi ba?
Correct.
Kung walang reproduction. Kasi there will a time na mamamatay tayo.
Oo,
So,
wala
sino
nang magtutuloy
susunod? Sino
ng species
magtutuloy?
natin.
Diba?
Correct.
Ganun siya. Okay, so we have there sa screen natin. Look at the figure in the slide. What can you say in the figure, Ma'am Donna?
I can see different organisms, ma'am.
Yes, so there are many or different organisms. But I have a question, Ma'am Donna. No? Okay. Are these organisms na nakikita natin dyan sa ating screen reproduce in the same way? Pare-pareho ba?
The answer is no, ma'am.
Why?
Why? Because actually there are two types of reproduction. So these are sexual and asexual reproduction. So what is the difference between these types? So let us take a look on the figure showing the parents and offspring produced in sexual and asexual reproduction. So based on the figure, how will you differentiate the two types of reproduction, Ma'am Lynn?
Okay, so tingnan natin.
Ano bang meron doon?
In sexual reproduction, there are two parents.
Ano yung example natin, ma'am?
Yung
Butterfly.
Yung
Ayan.
kulay yellow at saka
Pink.
pink. Medyo malayo kasi yung monitor
Oo.
sa akin eh. Alam mo naman ako kahit doble na eh. Hindi ko ganong makita. Okay. So,
parents.
in sexual reproduction, there are two parents involved.
Yes.
While in asexual reproduction, only one
One
parent ang involved.
Correct.
Yung gummy ba yan? Gummy-yummy? Yung candy?
Oh, yun ba yun?
Yung
Gummy
worm.
worms?
Yung yes.
Okay, example lang natin yun.
Yes, example
Okay, so how about their offspring? How will you describe their offspring, Ma'am Lynn?
Okay. So, sa kanilang offspring naman, in sexual reproduction,
Ano ba yung tinatawag nating offspring, ma'am?
yung anak.
Yung magiging anak.
Magiging
Okay.
anak, yes. Yung the three, makita mo dyan, yung isa gumaganong-ganon.
Oo.
Di ba? Yung isa is, yung dalawa.
Kulay
is
pink din.
Yes. So, the three offspring are different from each other. As we can see there in the figure, di ba? It is a combination of the traits of the two parents. While in asexual reproduction, the offsprings are the same and identical to the parents. Kung anong itsura ng parent, ganun din yung dalawang pareho din na offspring.
Gusto mo ba, ma'am, ganyan yung pagre-reproduce mo?
Kung sexual or asexual? We tayong mga human, because we are in the highest form of animal,
Yes.
dun tayo sa
Sexual.
reproduction.
Okay, we need two parents.
Yes.
Ang hirap naman, no? Kung ikaw lang magre-reproduce,
Yes.
no? Hahatiin mo yung katawan. Tapos merong bagong
magkakamukha na
individual.
tayo lahat ng tao,
Correct.
magkakamukha na lahat pag ganun
Oo.
nangyari, di ba, Ma'am Nana?
Nakakatakot yung gano'n.
Yes.
Okay. Ayan. Ang galing-galing naman ni Ma'am Lynn. So, Ma'am Lynn, why do you think the offspring are different from each other and to the parents? While in asexual reproduction, offspring are identical to the
Okay,
parents.
so the offspring in sexual reproduction is different from the traits of the two parents. Why?
Bakit?
Because the genetic material, no? Because of the genetic material present on them is a combination from both parents.
Galing sa nanay at tatay.
Yes. While in asexual reproduction, offspring are identical to the parent because they inherit all their DNA. Or that is the ano na naman ang DNA?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yes, that is from one parent. That's why same genes are present from the parent to its offspring. So we have there the table in our screen, the summary of the differences between asexual and sexual and asexual reproduction in terms of the number of parents involved and similarities of offspring to parents. So, in sexual reproduction, the number of parents involved ay 2.
Two.
While in asexual, only one
One.
parent
So, ibig
ang
sabihin
involved.
nung, ma'am, yung natin dyan, shape na bilog na magkaibang kulay, yun yung parents.
Yes, yung kulay yellow at saka
Saka yung
kulay
blue.
Dalawang parents
Okay.
yan. Samantalang dun sa sa
Asexual, isa lang.
Isa lang.
Oh.
Okay, saka makikita mo ma'am yung two
Identical.
parents, yung yellow saka
Blue.
blue. Tingnan mo yung naging offspring.
Naging green.
Green. Okay, samantalang dun sa asexual,
Blue pa rin.
violet and violet ba yun?
Hindi ko makita.
Kung blue. Ayoko kung anong kanya-kanya tayong
Oo.
may
Masakit sa mata yun.
Violet, purple.
Yes,
Hindi naman purple.
Yan. And in terms of genetic variation, lots of generic variation in sexual reproduction. That is a mix of traits from two parents. In asexual, no genetic variation.
Kasi isang parent
Kasi nga,
lang.
the same trait from only one parent. Yan.
Tama.
Okay. So, that is how sexual and asexual reproduction differ from each other. What are example of organism that reproduce sexually? Okay, makikita natin dyan sa figure. In the slide shows an example of organism that reproduce sexually. Okay, nakikita nyo ba yung nasa slide natin?
Yes, ma'am.
Isa sa mga halimbawa ng sexual reproduction ay mammals, represented by the dog. Okay? Another is the birds. Selector yung kwan. Okay, birds. Yung dalawa doon na kulay yellow at saka
Blue.
blue.
Lovebirds.
Nya dahil ang ibon.
Lovebirds.
Lovebirds. Okay. Another, we have reptiles. Sample ng reptiles ay yung snake, insects, spider, and some flowering plants. So these are the example of organism that reproduce sexually. When we say reproduce sexually, it means that needs two parents to reproduce. Ma'am Tere?
Okay, so based dun sa pinakita ni Ma'am Mirna, animals reproduce sexually. So how is the process of sexual reproduction in animals? So for humans and all animals that reproduce sexually, they have reproductive cells. So ang tawag natin sa reproductive cell na yan is gametes or sex cells. And these sex cells are formed during meiosis. And they come in the form of sperm, wherein yung sperm, it is produced by males. And egg cell, which is produced by females. Okay, so when conditions are favorable, sperm and egg cell unite. Ang tawag natin dun sa process na yon, the union of sperm cell and egg cell is fertilization. Then, ang magiging result, this will result to zygotes, which contains genes from both the parents. Kasi dalawang parent ang involved. Okay?
So how about in flowering plants? How is the process of sexual reproduction? So we all know that the reproductive organ of flowering plants is the flower. Diba? So flowers have structures that produce the gametes necessary for reproduction.
Okay, meron tayong illustration dyan, ma'am, sa Sir Hector.
Nasaan na yun? Ayun. Ito yung mga different parts of the flower. Okay. So, depollination brings together the gametes of flower. And this occurs when a pollen grain of the right kind lands on the stigma. Ano na naman yung stigma, Ma'am Tere? That is the male organ of the flower. Okay? Of the pistil. So, each pollen form a tube that grows down through the pistil and reaches the ovule in the ovary. So one of the nuclei in the pollen tube unites with the egg nucleus in the ovule to form a zygote. So when we say zygote, that is the fertilized egg. So after the fertilization, seeds are produced that can grow into a new plant.
Okay, so that is how sexual reproduction occurs in animals and plants.
Plants,
So,
yes.
naiintindihan ba, our dear learners? So, in sexual reproduction, ito ay nangyayari in two ways. So, what are these? These are the internal and external fertilization. Now, what is the difference between the two? Pag sinabi nating internal, in internal fertilization, the egg is fertilized by the sperm inside the female. So, the organism, we have their examples. So, the organisms in our slides are example of organisms wherein fertilization occurs inside the female. So, these are the mammals. O yan, yung dog. Then, we have also birds, the reptiles, insects, and spiders. Yan. Yung internal fertilization.
Okay, how about external fertilization? In external fertilization, the egg is fertilized by sperm outside the female. And the female lays the eggs and then the male fertilizes them. What are the examples of organisms wherein external fertilization occurs? Examples are fishes and some amphibians just like the frog, plants, and fungi. So when we say amphibians, these are the organisms that can live in both land and water.
Gaya ng frog.
Oo, gaya ng frog. Okay, so panoorin natin ang video na to about external fertilization. Ay. Ay. Okay na, okay na. Ha? Oo. I-click mo lang yan. Mali.
External fertilization. In many animals, fertilization takes place outside the body of the female. In these animals, fertilization takes place in water. Let us find out how this happens. During spring or rainy season, frogs and toads move to ponds and slow-flowing streams. When the male and female come together in water, the female lays hundreds of eggs. Unlike hen's egg, frog's egg is not covered by a shell, and it is comparatively very delicate. A layer of jelly holds the eggs together and provides protection to the eggs. As the eggs are laid, the male deposits sperms over them. Each sperm swims randomly in water with the help of its long tail. The sperms come in contact with the eggs. This results in fertilization. This type of fertilization, in which the fusion of a male and a female gamete takes place outside the body of the female, is called external fertilization. It is very common in aquatic animals such as fish, starfish, etc.
Okay, so ganun pala yung external fertilization. Wherein, yung female, they will lay egg on the water. Then, magre-release naman ang male ng sperm cell. And dun na mangyayari ang
external
fertilization. Union of sperm cell and egg cell sa
External
water.
sa labas, outside.
Yes, so outside the female. Okay, so that is how reproduction occur. internally and external. It can be internal or external fertilization. Okay, so let's proceed to asexual reproduction. Okay, mga learners, nakikinig pa ba kayo? Okay, so kung nakikinig kayo, please comment down ang word na asexual reproduction.
Sexual.
Asexual
Makikita
reproduction.
natin, ma'am, kung nakikinig pa
Okay, may nagko-comment na ba, ma'am?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Wala pa, medyo nahuhuli sila.
Ay, nahuli.
Okay. Sige na, ma'am.
Mahina ang net. Okay, so as we have discussed, there is only...
May nakikinig, ma'am.
Ay, meron na.
Si Ray.
Si Ray Christian Angelo Sagaysay. Marami.
Okay, so anong section yan, ma'am?
May Newton, may ano dito, Newton, hindi ko alam.
Galileo.
Galileo, may
Newton.
kultura. Yan, marami,
Okay,
ma'am.
yes. So thank you, dear learners, for still listening. Okay, so as we have discussed, there is only one parent involved in asexual reproduction. And the offspring is identical to each other and to their parent. So there are different modes of asexual reproduction. Let's discuss how is the process in each type.
Okay, so one of the modes of asexual reproduction is binary fission. The prefix bi means two. Okay? So when we say binary fission, cell division in prokaryotes that forms two genetically identical cells. Okay, the example here, we have the bacteria, E. coli, pancreators. Okay, tignan natin dun sa figure, dito sa slides, shows how binary fissions occur. Yung unang picture, it shows the DNA is occupied.
Kapit.
Ay, kapid pala. Kapid. Good. Yes. Then the second figure, it shows that the cell begins to grow longer, pulling the two copies apart. Oh, medyo humahaba na. Then the third figure, the cell membrane pinches inward in the middle of the cell. Kikita ninyo na naghati na dun sa gitna.
Nagkaroon na siya ng, kumbaga,
Ng shape. Diba?
Cleavage.
Okay. Oh, hindi ka paris ko Then, yung pang-apat na figure shows that the cell splits to form two new uniform identical offspring. Kaya tinawag na binary fission.
So, ibig sabihin, ma'am, kung ano yung meron sa isa, meron din sa
Yes, ma'am.
Identical.
Yeah, identical nga. Okay.
From one organism, naging
Dalawa. Okay.
with identical
Offspring. That's why, ang mga bakterya natin, di ba isa sa mga halimbawa dyan?
Yes, ma'am.
Kasi ang mga bakterya natin, napakabilis mag-produce. And take note, my dear learners, the ideal condition of bacteria can reproduce is 10 to 15 minutes.
Ay, ganun lang
Ako, yung isang oras, di ang dami na nang na-produce, na-reproduce na bakterya. Kaya pala, kabilis.
Yung mga bacteria na, yung good bacteria.
Kaya
hindi
nga.
yung bad bacteria,
Correct.
no? Pero both the good and the bad.
Bad.
Ganun ang bilis ng pagdami nila, ma'am.
Hindi naman natin mapipili, ma'am. Ano?
Yes. Okay. So we have also another mode of asexual reproduction, ma'am, which is budding. So the organism produces a bud that breaks away to live on its own. Examples are hydra and yeast. Okay. So we have there. So the bud or offspring is identical to the parent. So that is an example of budding. That is yeast. Ano, Ma'am Teresa?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that is a yeast. Okay. So the bud Yan, when large enough, can break off the parent and live on its own. No? So, yung through the bud, maaalis yun, and then magsasarili na siya. Pwede na rin siyang independent na siya. No? Okay. So, offspring may remain attached and form a colony. So, while in yeast, the cell does not divide equally into halves. Hindi
Tignan
siya
natin yung
totally
next na figure, sir.
mahati.
Sa next na figure, sir.
natin, ma'am. Ay, sir. Yan.
Yan.
So, in yeast, the cell does not divide equally into two halves. Instead, there is a large mother. Makikita natin dyan, there's a large mother cell.
Yung mas malaki.
And, yes, a smaller daughter cell.
So yung nauna kaninang image natin, ma'am, it's a hydra. So ito yung
Hydra,
yeast.
yes. Yan ang yeast. Yung una kanina na parang
Meron
letter
siyang,
Y, yun ay hydra.
Hydra, yan. Hydra.
Yan, hydra. And then yung isa ay, yan, yeast.
Okay, number 3 is regeneration. So regeneration occurs when an offspring grows from a piece of its parent. And organism uses cell division to regrow body parts. So the organisms that produces the new organism or organisms is called a parent. And each new organism is called an offspring. So mga halimbawa natin dito for regeneration, producing new body parts, we have the gecko newts, tadpoles, crabs, hydra, and zebrafish. So, dito sa atin, ang example is yung lizard. Di ba pag pinutol mo yung buntot ng lizard, nagre-regenerate siya. Tutubo siya ulit.
Sir Hector, next slide please yun.
Yan. Ayan yung gecko.
New body.
Tutubo siya ulit.
Kaya
Galing
yun
ko.
ang pan ng lizard pag hinuli mo,
Pag
ay,
naputol.
talagang putulin ko na lang yung ipos ko, sabi niya.
Kaysa mahuli.
Kasi tutubo din lang naman.
Correct.
Sa atin kaya pag yung daliri, pwede? Ito na pag-asa bang tumubo?
Yung kuko, ma'am, pwede.
Yung buhok, di ba?
Buhok.
Nagre-regenerate.
Pero yung sa daliri, hindi.
Hindi.
Okay.
Okay, Ma'am Teresa?
Okay, so another mode of sexual reproduction is fragmentation. Okay, so in fragmentation, a parent breaks into different fragments that eventually form new individuals. So just like yung mga planarians, flatworms, sponges. Okay, nakikita natin dyan sa illustration.
Planarians.
As you can see, yung isang planarians
Na-divide.
naputol into 3. Then yung 3 pieces na yon naging new
Organism.
organism.
Ang hirap pala pag pinatay mo yan o
Oo,
tinatad
ay,
mo.
hindi mamamatay. Baka
Lalo
akala
siyang
natin.
dadami.
Yes, hindi mo pala mapapatay, kundi
Yes,
lalong
ma'am.
dadami, no?
Okay, pero ano ang best way kaya ma'am para mamatay yung planarians? Kasi pag hinati-hati mo naman, dadami pa pala.
Gamit ka ng chemicals. Pwede siguro.
Chemicals.
Matay sila, hindi sila yung
Parang sa flatworm, naman,
yes,
di ba?
parang sa flatworm.
Magamit ng chemicals.
Yes, may mga gamot.
Mga gamot, oo.
Okay, so ganun din sa mga corals. Pieces of coral broken off in storms can grow into new colonies. Okay. Yun yung mga examples ng fragmentation.
Okay. Ma'am Mirna?
Okay, another mode of asexual reproduction is the spore formation. A spore, a reproductive cell capable of developing into a new individuals without fusion with another reproductive cell. When the spore case open, the tiny spores are released and may be carried by wind or water. Yan yung dalawang agent na maglilipat sa mga spores from one place to another. So once the spores lands on a favorable environment, it develops into a new organism. An example of spores formation ay yung fungi at ang ferns. Familiar ka ba, Ma'am Teresa, sa ferns?
Yes, ma'am, pero ang mga learners natin, familiar kaya sila dyan?
Ay,
Ito yung isang ang tawag natin
Pakupako.
pakpako.
Meron yung mga
Okay,
edible.
yes.
Meron yung edible at yung mga nakikita natin dito sa ating paligid, yung mga plants that hindi sila edible.
Yes, ma'am. Tignan nga natin, sir, yung...
Sa, kwan.
Okay.
Yes.
Yan, meron tayo din na picture ng ferns. Na kung saan itong ferns na ito, ma'am,
Meron.
na dumadami sila because of the
Spores.
spores.
Yes. Ang spores man nakikita dun sa likod ng dahon na
Parang
mga
buto siya,
pakpako.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yung kulay brown.
Yes.
Kasi nga,
Yun.
di ba kung minsan, ma'am, di ba nagtanim ka hindi ka naman tawag dito?
Oo, di ka naman nagtanim, bakit dumadami?
So that is
Oo. Another example dyan ay yung fungi. O, di ba? Example of fungi ay yung mushroom. Take note, mga learners, hindi lahat ng mga mushrooms natin na nagtumutubo sa paligid ay nakakain. Meron ding hindi.
Nakakalason.
Yes, poisonous. O, bakit dumadami ang mga mushrooms na yan sa paligid natin?
That is because of spores, ma'am.
Yes.
Bigla na lang silang susumpot-sumpot.
Yes, ma'am. Lalo na kapag panahon ng tag-ulan.
At tapos marami kayong saging doon sa
Yes.
likod.
Yung mais. Yung,
Oo.
anong tawag
Sa
doon?
yung ano ng mais, palay.
May alaga
Yan.
kang mga kalabaw, baka.
Yes, yung tain nila.
Mga tumutubo
Di ba?
sa mga waste nila.
Marami. Okay, so yan ang spores formation.
Yes. Then another, ma'am, we have the vegetative propagation. So uniform offspring grow from a part of a parent plant. So there are different types of vegetative propagation. So what are these? Kindly give one, Ma'am Donna.
We also have runners.
Runners, tumatakbo?
Runners. Ito yung nang iwan sa'yo, tinakbuhan ka. Runners grow along the ground from the parent plant. They form adventitious roots and shoots at the tips, thus giving rise to new plants. So, example natin dito, yung Bermuda grass, sweet potato, strawberry, kangkong. Yan, mga yan.
Kangkong, marami.
So yung
Squash.
Kumbaga, nag-e-extend yung kanilang,
Yes.
tawag nito,
Stem.
roots
Yung
and
roots
shoots.
nila, yes. Tapos magkakaroon ng stem. Parang sa mga kamote ba?
Yes, yung gumagapang, di ba?
Yes.
Mga gumagapang yan.
Ang tawag doon ay runners.
Runners. So parang runners, para silang tumatakbo nga. Gumagapang kasi.
Si Rector, hindi kasali yun.
Ano daw yun?
Buti na lang, hindi narinig ni Ma'am Linda.
Okay. Okay, number 2.
Okay, number 2, types of vegetative propagation ay yung tip layering.
Or that is also marketing, ma'am. Diba?
Yes. Okay, so certain plants reproduce by allowing their aerial stem to downward so that their tips touch the ground. Ang example natin dito yung ating mga hanging plants.
Yung spider plant.
Yung spider plants. Di ba yung spider plants yung parang yan?
Baka meron
Oo,
sila
di
sa
ba?
bahay niyan. Pwede mong tanggalin yan, ma'am, no? Yung
Yes.
nakahaming na yan.
Oo, kasi meron na siyang ugat.
Oo.
Yan.
Tapos
Spider plant.
Okay.
Okay, so another type, we have the leaf reproduction. Okay, so some plants develop new plants along the margins of their leaf, just like the katakataka.
Katakataka.
Okay, so, ayan.
Paano mang, ayan.
Nakakita na ba kayo ng
Katakataka
ganyan,
lang.
mga learners? Okay,
Uso
so
daw
dun sa...
ngayon yan na 2022 daw yung mga plantitos, dapat meron daw kayong ganyan kasi swerte daw. Ha?
Ay,
Daw,
swerte,
ngayon
ma'am.
2022.
Kasi mabilis dumami.
Kasi mabilis dumami.
Okay, so...
Yes, naalala ko nung high school ako, iniipit ko yan doon sa
Ay, oo,
libro.
sa pigsa.
Kahit
Sa
nung
pigsa
college
ba?
tayo, Ma'am Linda, di ba?
Sa botanina
Yes.
natin.
Pinagkokolekta tayo ng mga iba't ibang klase ng dahon.
Gamot sa pigsa yan.
Ay, ganun.
Kasi malamig.
Oo, nilalagay yan sa boils para madali siyang mahinog.
Okay.
Ayan. Meron din tayo tinatawag na artificial vegetative propagation or reproduction. So we have the stem cutting. Example, We have the Rose, San Francisco, Malunggay. Agtukol ka lang timay sa nga stem
Sanga.
or branch. Itugkil mo, mabiyagin. Yun.
Depende kung okay yung lupa, ma'am. Ay, hindi lang basta naman tinukil.
Depende din daw sa ano,
Sayang.
sa kamay.
Kasi nagtukil ako, namatay eh. Kasi hindi maganda yung klase
Dapat
ng soil.
kasi meron, depende yata yan sa ano niya.
Yung soil din niya, tapos yung weather condition.
Yung weather condition.
Kung baka naman
Stem
nabilagay
cutting
sa-
yun.
Yes.
Bougainvillea, ma'am, di ba ganyan?
Stem cutting. Maraming tayong mga plants na pwede sa,
Sa stem cutting. Okay. Number 2 is marketing.
Ayan.
So, sa marketing naman, ayan. Yan. Nagmamadali kasi.
Layering for marketing.
Ang gagawin dyan, titignan lang nila yung medyo matanda ng stem, tapos medyo tatanggalin yung balat, tapos lalagyan nila ng soil, babalutin nila ng plastic, and then after how many weeks siguro yan, magkakaroon ng ugat, pwede nang ikat,
Yes.
itatanim na siya. So, yun ang marketing. And we also have the grafting and budding. Ayan. Ganyan kasi dati ginagawa ng tatay ko, ma'am, ng papa ko. Yan ang negosyo namin noon. No? Oo, grafting and
Di ba
budding.
ganyan din ginagawa ngayon doon sa mga bougainvillea? Kung
Oo,
bakit yung
ma'am.
isang
Oo.
puno,
Marami
iba-iba
siyang
yung-
varieties.
Oo, may red. yung
Kaya
orange.
maraming klaseng bulaklak yung isang
That is
puno.
true, grafting.
Correct. Grafting yan. Sa budding naman, kukuha lang ng bud and then ilalagay dun sa puno ng halaman na gusto mong i-ano. And then magkakaroon na ng bagong branch. Parang yung kalamandarin.
Yes.
Ayun.
Nag-combine ang
Nag-combine.
calamansi at
At
saka
mandarin.
Okay. So, yan. Okay, so those are the different types of vegetative
Propagation.
So this time, let's have the advantages of sexual reproduction. Ma'am Teresa and Ma'am Mirna.
Pasok.
Okay, so ano ba yung mga advantages of sexual reproduction? Okay, so one is diverse offspring. Okay, so there is genetic variation among offspring. Bakit merong genetic variation? Magkakaiba. Kasi, syempre, half of the DNA comes from the father and comes from the father. Half of it comes from the father. Okay, just
Then,
like sa kambal, ma'am, ano?
Yes.
Kahit
Kambal,
meron pa rin
pagkakaiba. Okay. Another is due to genetic variation. Individuals within a population have slight differences. Tulad ng sabi mo kanina, Ma'am Tere, kahit twins, merong pagkakaiba. Then, plants resist diseases. Sa sexual reproduction, ang mga halaman na napatubong ng sexual reproduction, mas matibay lang sila sa sakit. Then, traits can develop to resist harsh environment that allows an organism to survive.
Okay, yes ma'am. So another advantage is selective breeding. Used to develop many types of plants and animals that have desirable traits. So mapipili mo yung may magandang breed.
Oo. Okay. In the field of agriculture and farming, better plants and larger animals. As katulad ngayon, di ba? Parang wala na tayong nakikitang mga native na mga gulay at mga prutas, mga halaman. Kasi lahat na yun ay mga
Pumasok na dyan, ma'am, yung selective breeding.
yes.
Napili na nila.
Okay. Ganon din sa mga animals.
Kasi pag sinabi mong native, maliliit kasi ang
Oo.
gulay eh.
So, native
ngayon ang lalaki na. So, native tayo.
Yes.
Okay.
Hindi na tayo native.
May halo na eh.
So, those are the advantages of sexual reproduction. So, kung may advantages, we have also the disadvantages of sexual reproduction. And one disadvantage is time and energy. So,
Paano
dito,
naging ano yun,
more time is needed. Why? Because organisms have to grow and develop until they are old enough to produce sex cells. Hindi naman halimbawa sa tao, yung bata, hindi naman pwede agad, di ba?
Correct.
So, kailangan ma-reach nila yung pagiging teenager.
Bago sila mag-reproduce.
Yes. Okay, so time. Compare mo sa asexual.
Saglit lang.
Saglit lang. Okay. And another, Ma'am
Another, they need to search search and find a mate. Kailangan nilang humanap ng kapares.
Kasi nga, they need
O kapartner. Kasi
dalawa-
kailangan
Two
two parents. Ayan. Another one is, searching can expose individuals to predators, diseases, or harsh environmental conditions. Pwede rin silang mamatay sa paghahanap ng kanilang kamate.
Yes.
Diba? Kung meron silang kakompete. Another one is, fertilization cannot take place during pregnancy, which can last as long as 2 years for some mammals. Parang yung elephant. Parang 22 months niyang kakargahin yung baby niya bago maipanganak.
Sa atin sa human, 9 months.
9 months. Sa aso, 2 months
2 months
naman.
yata
Pati
sa
sa pusa.
Oo. Okay. So, those are the disadvantages. So, this time, let's proceed to asexual reproduction, the advantages. What are the advantages, Ma'am Teresa and Ma'am Mirna?
Okay, so ano naman ang advantages ng asexual reproduction? Okay, so one advantage is it enables organisms to reproduce without a mate. Okay, kasi
At wala
nga sa
silang
asexual,
kapares.
only one parent is involved. Hindi na kailangan ng
Partner.
No wasted time and energy.
Kasi
Diba?
hindi maghahanap.
Yes. Tsaka, hindi ka na maghihintay dyan ng napakatagal.
Correct.
Okay? Enable some organisms to rapidly reproduce a large number of uniform offspring. Napakadali ng hintayin.
Okay, yes
Diba?
ma'am, just like the bacteria.
Oo, ang bilis dumami.
Hindi ka na
Yes,
maghihintay ng
immediate.
matagal.
Okay. So, kung merong advantages, meron ding disadvantages. So, what are the disadvantages of asexual reproduction? Okay, so because of their offspring are identical, there is no genetic variation. Wala. That can give an organism a better chance for survival. Yan. Kasi nga, isang parent lang. So, no genetic variation. Diba? Example, we have a weed killer can kill the parent. It will also kill the offspring. So, a whole species can wipe out from a disease.
Kasi
So,
pare-pareho sila ng genetic
yes. So, dangerous mutation in DNA. If the parent has mutation in their DNA, so the offspring will have it too.
Yes.
Meron din.
Correct.
Okay, so yun naman ang mga disadvantages.
Kumbaga, madali silang mamatay.
Yes.
Okay. So, we also have the similarities and differences of asexual and sexual reproduction. So, what are the similarities, Ma'am Teresa and Ma'am Mirna?
Okay, so makikita natin dyan sa Venn diagram, yung nasa gitna, those are the similarities of asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay, so what are the similarities? Syempre, asexual and sexual reproduction are both forms of reproduction.
Yes. And it involves plants, fungi, and animals.
And of course, both produces offspring.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the similarities. So, na makikita dyan sa ating Venn diagram. Okay.
How about their differences?
The differences. So, in asexual reproduction, as we have mentioned already, one parent ang involved, while in sexual reproduction, 2 parents. Then, the cells divide by fission, budding, or fragmentation, that is in asexual. While in sexual reproduction, the cell divide by meiosis. Okay. Then, there's only a very little chance of genetic variation in asexual reproduction. While in sexual reproduction, genetic variation in offspring. Then, there's no formation of gametes in asexual reproduction. While in sexual reproduction, formation of gametes, and that is haploid.
Yes. Another differences under asexual reproduction, it is found in lower organisms. Example, in bacteria. How about in sexual reproduction? It is found in higher or complex organisms like mammals. In asexual reproduction, whole parent body or bud, fragment, single somatic cell is involved. While in sexual, sexual reproduction unit or reproduction is the gamete that results in fertilization, which is diploid zygote. And the last one, for asexual, generally creates a minimum of 2 offspring, and for sexual, creates a minimum of 1 offspring.
Okay, so those are the similarities and differences
differences
of asexual and sexual reproduction.
Okay, yes. So, napakarami nating na-discuss ngayong araw, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope, dear learners, na meron kayong natutunan at makakatulong yan sa pagsagot ninyo sa mga validating questions, weekly validating question, summative test,
At sa mga activities nila.
yes, mga tasks, activities in your modules. Okay, so let's summarize what we have discussed. Okay, so we have discussed the differences between sexual and asexual reproduction in terms of the number of parents involved and the trace of the offspring. Okay, then also we discussed the modes of asexual reproduction, advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, and yung last, similarities and differences of asexual and sexual reproduction.
Okay, so we hope, learners, marami kayong natutunan. And please, don't forget na sagutin lahat ang inyong mga activities o sa week 3 na tayo. Inaasahan namin tapos na ninyo ang mga activities and validating questions ng week 1 at week 2. So dapat ngayon din inuumpisahan na rin ang week 3. And i-remind natin yung kanilang performance task nung week 2.
Correct. Yung parts of
Plant
cell.
or animal cells.
They will create a cell model using recycled or indigenous materials.
So, at kung natapos nyo na, pwede nyo nang isend sa inyong mga subject teachers.
With labels.
Yes, with labels, of course.
Ayan. So, wala tayong performance task this
Wala
week.
ngayon, ma'am, kasi medyo mabigat yung week 2. Pero sa week 4, meron. So, dapat mga anak, gawin na, tapusin na yung week 2 dahil meron uling susunod.
Okay.
Yan.
Yes.
So, thank you very much and see you sa
Again.
ating week 4. That is next week. So,
Next
thank
week,
you very
Monday.
much, Sir Hector. Thank you very much, Sir
Sir Joshel.
Joshel. Hey!
Okay, maraming salamat, grade 7 learners. Hanggang sa muli. See you again next week.
Next week.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Physics, chemistry, earth science, biology, biochemistry, environmental science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day. Ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan, ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big.
Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR FM.